right, we'll get started. I'm Tricia Cochran. I'm the Director of Student Services this year, which means, I guess, a few things. But mainly I work with our 7th graders in doing discipline, and I work on bus discipline, but I'm still have my hand in the guidance department. And I have the lovely Mrs. Friels, who is the 6th grade guidance counselor, and then we have 2 other guidance counselors that cover the other grade levels for us. The goal in here tonight is to give you some information and just some background knowledge and some lingo to have when you talk with your kids. Now you're here tonight, so you already have a vested interest in what your kids are doing, so thank you for coming. I throw a lot of information at you in this, and some of it you already know if you've had other kids go through, but we've tweaked some things this year, and so we want you to know what those things are. We've noticed with our 6th graders coming in, they've been a really great group to get to know, seen some great things. The transition to middle school is rough. I don't know if you see your kids come home exhausted, or they're, okay, that extra hour's killing me, Mom, or this homework load of going class to class to class and keeping track of 7 subjects is hard. We know that. We see that, and that's why we have some great systems in place to work with them here. One of the first things I want to talk to you about is homework and our support room. That is a big change for kids, and we know that we're putting the grips on them pretty tight early, but we want their work. And I have 2 high school teachers sitting here saying, we want you to have them prepared to do homework by the time they get to us too. Without the credit system before, I could send somebody to DeKalb High School, and we did. We would send them. We would promote them. And they could fail multiple classes for 3 years here and still go to the high school. And I think they would say, we don't know if they graduated, kind of thing. So we had to do some things here to get work from kids, but it wasn't just about passing. We needed to make sure they were learning. And so with our support room, we have a homework policy that your students' homework every day, their classwork and their homework, is tracked every period by their teachers. We love our Google Docs here, so each pathway, the Pride and the Legends, they keep a running document every period of students who don't turn in work. And it's very well labeled. If you called Mrs. Friel, she could pull that document up, and you could say, why did my child go to the support room 3 times? She could see the dates, she could see what assignment they didn't do. And so with that being said, with the homework being tracked or the classwork being tracked, we want that homework every day. Now, if your child's sick, we get that. But if it's just not doing, that's not okay here. It's not okay in any grade level. The support room then functions. It's their homeroom class. They go to the regular homeroom, and their homeroom teacher may say, you have support room today, and turn in your math, whatever assignment might be. But they go to homeroom and do it. And it is about completion, but it's also, did they master that assignment? Because they have to do quality work. They can't just go there and hurry up and do their assignment that they didn't turn in 5th period and think they get to go back to homeroom and have some fun. No, they stay the whole period in the support room, and it has to be quality work. And the teachers are tracking that. Most of the teachers in support room also have some older, in 6th grade I have some 7th and 8th grade peer tutors that go and help in the support rooms. I think every support room is manned by a math teacher.
Yes.
Which is a great thing, because typically that's what our support rooms are. The homework that's missing is typically a math assignment, or they're behind on math objectives. Just so you know, and I hope, nobody please don't raise your hand, but we do 1 calls when a student gets their 3rd support room. And then the 4th one is kind of a freebie. It's not free, we still count it. But on the 5th support room then, a student will be expected to do a study table. And that's for 6th grade. It's 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays until 4:30. We have activity buses that transport if you can't transport your child home. But again, even in that, it's not a punishment. It's about getting the work. So we get the grades, we get the learning and the mastery of that assignment assured for that student. There's also, in that study tables that we have, this was our first week for 6th grade study tables. And we have a teacher and a paraprofessional that run those, and some peer tutors in there as well. Lots of times we get National Honor Society members from the high school that come over and need to get their volunteer hours in, and they help us out nicely. Once they serve that study table, their count starts over. If they keep getting into those. If we get chronic attenders to the support room, we're going to look at what other plan we might need to put into place during the school day. We have some lunch bunch kinds of things where they do a working lunch. We have some other after school activities that could get some work from them. So what you need to know is, one, it's not okay to not do homework for us, and that it's tracked constantly. It's a great thing for us. And we've seen some success with that. Sixth grade's struggling a little bit right now because they're learning so much so fast from us, the procedures and rules and all of those expectations that we have. Yesterday you had 90 sixth graders in support room. That's scary. I have 300 sixth graders. My 7th and 8th grade support rooms on either pathway might have 20. And that's big to us. 90 is unthinkable, but it happened. We witnessed it. It happened. But it was all about math mainly, not keeping up on math objectives and things like that. So you went to digits first, right? No, math? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go over to digits, you'll get a little more information. So that's the homework policy, the support room. It's a good tool for us, and I think what you'll find is that kids, our hope with the support room is they won't want to go, so they'll get the idea, I don't want to go to that, or I don't want another study table, I'm going to keep doing my work. Because there's no reason for your child to fail here because of the supports we have in place. We have some great systems in place for our kids and your kids, and with what we're trying to do with some of our other initiatives, and they all go hand in hand, we're getting some pretty good success out of the kids here. Our 7th and 8th graders, our 6th graders last year did just what yours are doing right now. I would say by first 9 weeks, it was going very smoothly, and our support rooms were virtually empty. Our study tables were a few here and there every now and then, but we implemented it then in 7th grade for quarter 2, and then for quarter 3, 8th grade. Same thing happened, big numbers, and then it got better, and it got better, and it, so we get it. Let's go to the next slide there, if we could, please. Credit system. We have the credit system, which you may have heard me talk about at 5th grade meeting last spring, or during anything if you came during the summer orientation meeting. The credit system is very important to us. Again, it does help us not send students on to the next grade who have failed miserably. Anybody who fails here, it's usually because they just don't do that daily work. It is a homework issue. And of course, if they're not doing the homework, they're not going to score well on a test or quiz that we give either. But it typically is about the number of missing assignments they have. But with that support room tracking and things like that, we do see that get better. Passing grade, D- or higher, 60% or higher gets a passing grade, earns a point. Your kids can earn 7 points or 7 credits. You'll hear that those are interchangeable terms, every 9 weeks. So when we do that, we're counting. Mrs. Friels will be tracking. She will run a points list when our first report cards run in October. And we will be looking at anybody with less than 5 points, which means they failed 3 subjects, because we need to see who they are, see what the failing grades are in, and that kind of thing. The credit system, you could earn 28 credits in a school year, which is 7 credits each 9 weeks. The minimum for a student to move on to the next grade is 24 credits earned. So that does leave a little wiggle room, not a lot. We also upped this year, if you've had other kids go through, you would remember that we might have had some math and language arts criteria last year with passing 1 each semester. This year, they have to pass 3 math and 3 language arts for the school year. So 3 9 weeks of math, 3 9 weeks of language arts have to be passed to move on to the next grade. Again, math and language arts, I'm not saying that the other subjects aren't important, but those are just such a solid foundation for what we want to do the next year. By the time they get over to our high school, they need those. They need those tools. If you can't read well, you're not going to pass language arts here, social studies, and any foreign language. I'm going to refer to you because I even have Spanish 1 here for my 8th graders. I have it for high school credit. Am I going to let somebody who doesn't do well in language arts, the English language, take Spanish? I'm not. So we're looking at we're looking at those things all of the time. And I do want to impress upon you how much we, and Mrs. Pfeiffer and our other administrators, we're always looking ahead. And yes, we're looking at your child right now, but we know what's coming next in the 7th grade, in the 8th grade. We know what's coming next when they get to DeKalb High School with having to pass 2 tests for their high school diploma. They have to pass it. They no longer have I-STEP in high school. They have end-of-course assessments. By the time your kids get there, there'll be summative assessments, different terminology, but they're still going to have to pass something in English and something in math for their high school diploma. So we have to get it right here so they're consistent and on track every year. okay? Your students will bring home a progress report. They will bring home a report card. We do not mail those. And I think in elementary school, somebody confirmed in the last meeting that you guys are used to having that they're brought home with them, not mailed. We do mail at the end of the year because we want you to see those. But you can check grades at any time on the parent viewer. And hopefully you've accessed that. If you have not, or you don't know how to access the parent viewer through our website, please email me and I will be happy to get you login information and even talk you through that, or make time to have you come in and we work through that. It is a great tool because our teachers are required to keep their grades up. They have to keep grades in the grade book for you to see how your child's doing. And we have those requirements on teachers saying most up to date, because you need to know what's going on. Can't wait 3 weeks to know what their math grade is. Can't wait 3 weeks to know what their science grade is. You have to know right now. And we have to know. We're checking. Every few days we're running F lists. Every 2 weeks we're definitely running one to make those calls home so that you know if something's not going well. But that is a great tool. Our homework calendars are a wonderful tool as well. Hopefully you've accessed those. Those are accessed through the website, the DeKalb Central website, and go to the DeKalb Middle School page. You have to know what pathway your child's on, Pride or Legend, so you can click on the right calendar, and you should be able to see a full week's worth of homework there. And usually there's, somebody asked me in the last one, are there always directions for the homework? No, but if they're necessary, they are attached. Another great question from the last session I'll share with you on the homework calendar was that, what if they just told me what they did in class that day on the homework calendar? What if that's all that was described? Typically, if that's what was described, or if it looked syllabus-like, that means there was no homework. They did it in class. They're supposed to only list homework on that. But if there isn't any, then it means that's what they got accomplished in class. And whatever pathway you're on, there's some 2-period block classes. That's 90 minutes where they could get that class's assignments done. And even if they use their time wisely in the 45 minutes, a lot of times work can get done. The only thing you should see every night is math. Every night during the week, you should see math come home. If they're keeping up and doing what we're expecting, yeah, math homework every night. All right, let's talk about our Going Green initiative. This is a great thing. It was exciting to see it take off last year. Kids bought into it very much, staff even more, and it's just a great thing for our kids to be able to chart their success. Your students in elementary school carry data notebooks. We've started that this year, and they pick them up every morning and from their homeroom teacher. They return them then when they're in last period homeroom with them every day. That's where they're charting how their grades are every Thursday. That's our data day. They're also charting, we're in the middle of NWEA testing right now. Some of your kids might be done, just depends what subject they're in when we tested. And then I-STEP information and anything else that teachers need to be tracking data-wise to see your child's success or what their needs might be. It also will help us see those things in that. We have the Going Green, which on there it'll tell you, green is all A's, B's, and C's. We want green. 80% green, Mrs. Pfeiffer, for our work hard, play hards. So grade level wise, we'll talk about that in a minute, but green is all A's, B's, and C's. Yellow, you could have 1 or more D's and be considered yellow. You're red if you have 1 F or more. And the blue is at the bottom, and that didn't come initially. We didn't think about blues. I love it because our leadership team that worked with Mrs. Pfeiffer came up with it last year and said, well, I get all A's. I want recognized different than green. I have straight A's all the time. So that became our blue. And that was a great thing because that was student driven, not us. I love that. And we have a lot of blue. Once we do our first report cards, we will chart the data of that and our colors out in our commons on the long bulletin board by our lecture room. It's a great thing to see, and we're charting and we're looking for that 80% achievement there in our green. And if that happens, then that grade level gets some kind of a work hard, play hard activity. And last year, I think the first one, 6th grade, was Andrew Luck Cormays. We've gone tobogganing at Pokagon. Try to do some fun things away from the school if possible. However, we do some work hard, play hards every Friday. We do them for grade level. Your 6th graders did tug of war last week. That's always a big hit. We allowed all 6th graders to participate last week, even those who technically were not green, because we wanted them to experience their first work hard, play hard. We wanted them to know what they have to work for to get to do the next one. We will start pulling those kids out for our next Work Hard, Play Hard in September for 6th grade. If they are not green, they don't go. Well, I said that wrong. They can have a D and go. They cannot be red. And but they will go to a study hall while the other kids do whatever fun activity we have planned next. They had a blast last week. I hope that was enough for a lot of them to say, okay, I don't want to miss something like this again. We'll do that with my 7th graders tomorrow in tug of war. We're going to let them all go. Hopefully, they're going to want to work for the next activity. But we are constantly, the great thing, at any time Mrs. Pfeiffer could be at lunch duty and say, what color are you? And your student knows, because they're always charting that every week, and it's something they're working for. I had a student in my office today, and last week he was red. Miss Cracken, look, I want you to check my grades right now. Okay. It's like, I think I'm yellow, and he was. He was so excited, and I know that doesn't sound great that he's yellow, but he went from red to yellow in a week. And we're going to get to green before we're at report card time where it counts. Okay, that was a great thing. We already talked about the credit system. What am I forgetting?
I don't think you are.
Something that you want to be sure to, and you're here, you're invested in your kids, but just asking them, have you scanned this week for your ACT math? You have to have 3 objectives by Friday. The other thing, and I'm sure they said this in the meeting, but I had to have math teachers sit down with me so I could understand our programming. It's not easy. We know that. It's a good math program. We do develop very good math students that come out of DeKalb Middle School. But I needed some information so I could talk to parents. So a few years ago, they sat with me and explained all of how that worked. But if they could take an ACT math test per week, typically one test will get their objectives mastered for that week. But it has to be a test. They can practice, but if they have a test sitting out there, and I've had kids have 3 or 4 tests waiting to be taken. They just haven't taken the time to do that. They just keep doing the practices. So just asking them to just test this week, or getting on their ACT math site at home and telling them to show you where things are at. You'll learn you can do that with digits too when you talk to the digits teacher tonight. But just using that lingo with them. What color are you? How's your data notebook looking? Have you gone to the support room? Those kinds of things, them knowing that you know our lingo here, that's huge. Because they know you know what's going on then. Or, if you feel like you don't know what's going on, you're going to call this lovely lady, and she's going to fill you in. Any of the teachers, if you have concerns in a subject area, you can email or call them as well. And you're welcome to contact me too. I'm open to that as well. Anything I'm missing, Mrs. Pfeiffer?
I wanted to throw one thing in. I got a lot of questions we just did for support room, the 3rd time they get a phone call